Hi, how are you? Today I'm going to tell you what happens when you go 16 hours without eating, 16 consecutive hours. This is one of the types of intermittent fasting, one of the most popular types that people do the most. And many people do this type of fasting not just to lose weight. Fasting can really help with weight loss, but it also brings many health benefits that are scientifically proven. There was even a Nobel Prize in medicine that was awarded for studies on fasting. So today I want to talk to you more about its health benefits, about the physiological side. Stick around until the end because you won't want to miss this. If you love tips on nutrition, health, and fitness, you'll love this channel. Subscribe and turn on notifications. I have new videos every day. You'll love them. So let's start by talking more about the health benefits that intermittent fasting can bring us. It used to be a consensus, right? Long ago, it was considered important to eat every 3 hours. Even today, there are still people who think that if you go many hours without eating, you'll get weak, you'll get sick, and it will harm your health. But nowadays, we know that's not true. It all depends on what you eat during your eating window, during the open window, on having a balanced diet, and on doing the fast the right way, right? Which means consecutive hours of fasting. I already have a playlist here on the channel talking more about what intermittent fasting is, how many hours to fast, and the different results. I talk about 12, 16, and 24-hour fasts. I already have a lot of videos here. Worst choices during fasting, mistakes during fasting. I'll leave this playlist down below in the description. If you like fasting, you'll enjoy watching these other videos too, right? So the video title is right here along with an arrow. Click there and a tab will open with all these tips and information as I mentioned them here in the video as well. So let's start by talking about what health benefits this 16-hour fast brings. That's because the 16-hour fast ends up being one of the most common types of fasting, right? It's one of the most popular ones that people do, and it's kind of the middle ground. It's not as light as a 12-hour fast, which also has many benefits. I talk about that in the video on how many hours of fasting for weight loss. But it's also not one of the more extreme fasts, like the 24-hour fast, which people need to be more prepared for, right? You need to have more nutritional planning for that. Usually, it's done with the guidance of a nutritionist to balance the meals. So let's talk a little more about what the benefits are of going 16 hours a day without eating and what that can do for you. The first thing that happens then is the stabilization of your insulin levels. Insulin is that hormone our body produces, the pancreas produces, when we eat something. Basically, foods that are rich in carbohydrates will make you secrete more insulin. And however many times a day you eat, that's how many times a day your pancreas usually secretes insulin to stabilize that amount of glucose, right? When we eat food, the glucose in our plasma, in our blood, increases. Then there's a signal from the brain saying that this level has increased. It goes to the pancreas and says, secrete insulin to store all of this. And then the pancreas secretes insulin and the glucose is stored, bringing the plasma glucose levels back to what's ideal for your health. Because everything has a balance, right? There's a middle ground for things to work in our body. Everything is very well organized. So the more often you eat throughout the day, especially if your diet is not very balanced, very rich in carbohydrates, and you eat a lot, sometimes throughout the day, the more often you secrete insulin during the day, and often in large amounts. There are people who have what we call insulin resistance, where even though the person secretes a lot of insulin, the cells don't recognize it, and they don't see the function of this insulin in the way they should. It doesn't perform its function the way it should. And so even though there's a lot of insulin, you still continue to have high blood sugar. I have a video here on the channel talking more about insulin resistance. And some studies have already found that people who practice intermittent fasting can experience regulation in insulin levels, a decrease in the amount of insulin secreted, and may also see improvement in this issue of insulin resistance. If you already have any health condition like diabetes, it's very important to talk to your doctor or nutritionist in your city first to check if fasting is recommended for you. And remember that this video is for informational purposes only. Some studies have found that this type of fasting can reduce the amount of insulin you secrete by up to 31%, which may help regulate blood sugar levels for some people. So it can indeed be a strategy for you to lose weight through this other approach as well. Because we already know that people who always have very high insulin levels tend to accumulate more fat in the abdominal region and have a greater tendency to have difficulty oxidizing fat, since insulin ends up counteracting the hormones that oxidize fat. That's because insulin is an anabolic hormone. It stores energy, it stores glucose, usually inside fat cells specifically. So if it's very elevated, these anabolic hormones are going to build up, right? When it's very elevated, the catabolic hormones that burn fat are decreased, right? It's always like a seesaw in our body. So if you have a lot of insulin circulating, you're going to have a harder time losing weight. So fasting can help you in this regard because it can decrease insulin secretion, thereby promoting an increase in those catabolic hormones that help burn more fat. Another benefit of intermittent fasting is that it can increase the levels of growth hormone, GH as we usually call it. This growth hormone is a hormone that can help you gain more muscle mass. And it is also actually a hormone that counteracts insulin. So when you decrease insulin secretion, you can increase your body's GH, which promotes this muscle mass anabolism that boosts metabolism. And there are studies that have already found that people after 16 hours have a greater increase in GH, and in short, are able to produce more of this hormone. GH also often increases because when there is a reduction in fatty tissue, that is, in the percentage of body fat, the tendency is for GH to rise. And this is encouraged by intermittent fasting because you usually also really reduce fat mass, body fat. This is an interesting detail because many times people think, oh, if I fast, I'm going to lose muscle mass. But it doesn't always happen if you do fasting the right way, right? Because it actually increases GH, which preserves lean mass and oxidizes and burns more fat. When we think about GH, we always think of muscle building, but it's also closely related to better mood throughout the day and more energy. And in addition, it can promote weight loss precisely because it increases muscle mass, which increases metabolically active tissue and boosts metabolism, right? So indirectly, it can also help with the weight loss process. Another important point is that recent scientific studies have found that intermittent fasting may potentially help to reduce inflammation in our bodies and make it more resistant to oxidative stress. Oxidative stress happens all the time. Even just by breathing, you produce free radicals. Even when you're just sitting still, quietly breathing, and we already know, of course, that we're exposed to many aggressions throughout the day. A poor diet, exposure to air pollutants, and ongoing health-related problems. And studies have already found that fasting can help increase our tolerance to free radicals and can help boost the body's anti-inflammatory potential. It shifts the body into a more anti-inflammatory state, which can improve overall health. Another interesting point is that fasting is often used for weight loss because it really does. It gets results. It helps increase HGH, right, in some cases, depending on how many hours you fast. So this increases your lean mass and can boost your metabolically active tissue. Since it lowers insulin, that also helps reduce hunger. That's why a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to be starving if I fast. I even have a video here about this, that it doesn't happen because the less insulin you produce, the less hunger you feel. So it becomes easier for you to overcome that urge to binge eat that you sometimes tend to feel. Many people say, I really used to feel like eating all the time, but once I started fasting, that urge to eat went down, that uncontrollable hunger decreased. Because insulin also decreases, so this helps you have better control over your eating and make healthier choices in your daily life. There have already been some scientific studies done on humans and animals looking at the benefits of fasting, and it has been found that fasting can help lower blood pressure, can help reduce triglycerides, can help decrease total cholesterol, and once again, it can help control blood sugar levels. That said, if you have any health condition, it's important to consult your doctor or nutritionist first to see if fasting is recommended for you, for how many hours, and what to eat during the eating window, as they will guide you for your situation. A very interesting study was conducted with animals, where two separate groups were separated. One group of animals had free access to food, and the other group was subjected to intermittent fasting. And it was found that in the group of animals that underwent intermittent fasting, they showed better learning and better memory than the group that had free access to food. This may be due to the fact that fasting also reduces markers of inflammation in the brain. More studies need to be done, but it's an interesting piece of information to share with you. Here on the channel, there's a really cool video talking about different types of fasting with different durations. I talk about 12-hour, 16-hour, 18-hour, and 24-hour fasts, and what physiological differences occur in your body as time goes by. Because studies already suggest that the different lengths of fasting you do, the longer you fast, the different benefits you'll get. So it might be challenging for you to say, a 16-hour fast, I can't do that. But watch the video because even a 12-hour fast already brings some really great benefits. There's also the 14-hour fast. I'll leave the link down below in case you want to learn about it. Let me know below if you already knew about these benefits of fasting beyond just weight loss. And if you do fast, how many hours do you usually fast? I'd love to see your comment. Like the video, it really helps me out, and share it with anyone who might enjoy it or needs it. Let's work to grow this chain of positivity. That's my goal here. See you next time. Bye.